Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, November 28, 2016. I'm Lafern Fraser with the details. The symbolic handing over of the leadership position of the New Democratic Party, or the NDP, at its extraordinary convention last Sunday, November 27th, was not without some rumbling. As we hear in this report by Sharon Garraway, the rancor was quelled by the outgoing leader Arnim Eustace, who reminded supporters that the enemy was not within the party.
Supporters and delegates of the New Democratic Party from all its 15 constituencies came together on Sunday, November 27, 2016 at the Democrat House for an extraordinary convention of the party where a new leader was installed. The event started off with a minute silence for the late Cuban leader Fidel Castro. General Secretary of the NDP, Alan Cruikshank, pointed out that the relationship between both SVG and Cuba began with the NDP.
We brought people here from other countries who couldn't walk in the country when they study in Cuba. They come here to work. St. Vincent and Grenadines allow them to work.
Chairman of the party, Dr. Linton Lewis, reminded the gathering that the 41-year oldest political party in the nation was established by the founding fathers under the precepts that those at the helm were not above the governing structure.
Any policy decision or other decision taken by the annual convention must be respected, observed, and implemented by the leader.
As it relates to the voting process for a new leader, our news team sought the opinions of those at the convention, and they had this to say.
I want Mr. Leacock win because he's more aggressive, and we need somebody aggressive at this time. Friday is like another relax, and we don't want somebody who's going to relax. We want a fighter.
Not the matter of who I want to win, it's the matter for the nation.
I like Mr. Leacock, I like Mr. Friday. I ain't decided, but don't know which one to choose.
Peaceful and loving, that's my view.
And you think that's something that the party needs now?
Yes, we need loving and togetherness. We don't need a basa.
So the excitement here at the New Democratic Party is real. Everyone wearing their party colors, of course, yellow, and you see the symbolic key on stage. So soon, persons will be voting to find out who will be the next leader of the New Democratic Party, the oldest political party in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As the media was excused from the private session for the voting to take place for the leadership position between MP for Central Kingstown, Major Leacock, and MP for the Northern Grenadines, Dr. Godwin Friday, it was revealed that Leacock pulled out of the contest. The leadership position automatically went to Dr. Friday. It was, however, noted that Leacock did not step aside quietly and expressed some strong concerns to those present. The outcome of the voting process was met with mixed reviews. Outside of the convention, Leacock said he was comfortable with his decision not to go ahead and contest for the leadership position, which he asserted was in the best interest of the party.
Very good. I use a phrase that my family tell me don't keep repeating. Absolutely at peace with myself. And it's just as I said, it's a rare opportunity in life to prove that one can be a team member and that there are things, events and institutions that are bigger than oneself.
Dr. Friday thanked Leacock for being a worthy opponent and called on the party supporters to unite to fight against what he termed as a common enemy.
Getting to see the conditions, I'm not joking about that. We have to know how they're living. We have to know what it is they're concerned about in order for us to represent them.
Meanwhile, former leader of the NDP, Arnim Eustace, noted that the outcome was expected and called for a united front.
As far as I'm concerned, there's no rancor. I believe that we will move forward now. We have a new leader.
Wife of Dr. Godwin Friday, Catherine Friday, a Trinidadian by birth, and principal of the privately operated Paradise School in Bequia, endorsed her husband and said she is confident that he would be a good leader not only for the NDP but also for SVG.
They will support him, the NDP party, and that all the people in St. Vincent will realize that he would make a very good leader for the country, and that we welcome all ULP supporters to join us and elect him as leader of the country eventually.
A very surprising conclusion here at the Democrat House for the NDP's convention, with MP for Central Kingston, Sinclair Leacock, handing over the power to Dr. Godwin Friday, backing out to hand over the power to Dr. Godwin Friday of the Northern Grenadines. Now, with this unified approach, we will see just how the NDP will do in the next general elections for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Reporting for SVG Television, I am Sharon Garraway.
Having returned to the state last Thursday, November 24th, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzales held a press briefing earlier today to inform and update the general public on matters of state. In this report, Prime Minister Gonzales provides an overview of his overseas visits, including his attendance at the COP22 meeting in Morocco. SVG-TV's Nikita Tony has more.
Vincent and the Grenadines, like many other small developing nations, is still plagued with the effects of climate change. And according to Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzales, there is much to be done in mitigating and adapting to climate change. Giving an overview of the 22nd meeting of the Conference of Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, held from the 7th to the 18th of November in Marrakech, Morocco, Prime Minister Gonzales pointed out that COP22 was geared at putting action to the Paris Agreement, which was scheduled to take effect by 2020, but instead took surprise effect this year.
The Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, commented on this remarkable feat of having it ratified in such a short period of time, the Paris Accord. Incidentally, there are some climate change deniers. When we addressing climate change, though we have our own delegation, we operate in concert with small island states and other people. This is the only piece of rock we have, and we have to try and do the best we can. Of course, the bulk of the problems come to us from outside.
Highlighting some of the pressing topics addressed at COP22, Dr. Gonzales reiterated the call for the quadrupling of adoption finance from the current levels provided through the agreement, a view which was shared by other leaders of developing countries.
At $100 billion a year from 2020 onwards, but $100 billion US to address mitigation, address adaptation for climate change, highly inadequate. There have been some comments that I call for quadrupling it because I just want money to spend and they shouldn't give us 1 cent more. So how would I build the bridges? How would I build the sea defenses?
The Prime Minister also made note of his involvement in several bilateral meetings while in Morocco.
I also met with the President of the Seychelles, Danny Fouare. We discussed, among other things, areas of cooperation, including assisting the Seychelles with establishing their Public Service Commission and Police Service Commission, and supporting the area of legal drafting. And we also discussed student exchange possibilities.
Dr. Gonzales also read a letter sent to the Executive Secretary of the UNFCCC, seeking the inclusion of the Republic of China, Taiwan into the Convention of Parties.
To Ms. Patricia Espinosa, the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, advocating for the inclusion of Taiwan. Taiwan has been making outstanding strides by itself and in conjunction with its allies around the world to arrest man-made climate change. It is wholly unreasonable for Taiwan to be excluded from the UNFCCC. The same logic that prompted its observer status at the World Health Assembly should dictate at least a similar status in the UNFCCC. As Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines, a country that has ratified the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement, I am formally requesting that this matter be given favorable consideration.
Stressing the need for persons to quickly grasp with the reality of climate change, Dr. Gonzales called for further sensitization on the effects of climate change, since mitigation of the effects require work by the government and the general public if it is to be successful. Nikita Tony reporting for SVG-TV News.
Expressing once again his condolences to the government and people of Cuba on the passing of former President Fidel Castro, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzales during today's media conference acknowledged the former president for his support and solidarity to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Cuba's internationalism and solidarity with the poor and oppressed people worldwide were manifestations of his humanity and nobility of spirit. We in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have been beneficiaries of Fidel's generosity and solidarity. In other countries, such as in racist Southern Africa, the Cubans under Fidel's extraordinary leadership shed their blood selflessly to assist in the attainment of freedom and nationhood in Angola and South Africa especially. Fidel was an extraordinary and towering figure of immense historical and global significance. He stands alongside the 20th century titans in the struggle for people's liberation. Fidel was a warm and humorous person, a finished personality, full of a love for life and living. We will miss him dearly. My wife and I have lost a personal friend. He said that St. Vincent and Grenadines will honor Fidel appropriately during this immediate period of mourning and thereafter.
The Prime Minister further advised that he planned to attend the activities in Cuba to celebrate the life of the iconic revolutionary, which begins tomorrow, Tuesday, November 29th.
Sometime after this press conference, I will go to the Cuban embassy to sign the book of condolences, and God willing, later this afternoon, maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock or thereabouts, I will leave for Cuba. I'm trying to organize a ride, and on the ride which I'm organizing, there are just 3 persons only whom I could take. I mean, I could get a ride, 3 of us, so Eloise will go with me and a security officer.
Cyberbullying manifests itself in our nation's schools and among our youths. As a community, we need to educate each other on its implications. This was the message brought forward by Creative Events as they held their first conference on cyberbullying last Friday evening. The event heard guest speakers from the educational, religious, psychological, and legal fields expressing their views on cyberbullying here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Medical social worker at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, Kevin Glasgow, reminded the audience that words are powerful and that one should always be mindful of his or her actions in cyberspace.
The role that we have to play is that we have to find ways of finding out. We have to find ways of understanding the maladaptive behavior. Psychologically, a lot of persons are being affected, and the rate for suicide is increasing. Right now, mental health is full. And we also have to understand that the perception of the helping profession also has to change, because we need teachers and counselors to intervene as early as possible. We need parents to be observant and seek help as early as possible, because if this does not happen, then the effects of cyberbullying will be devastating, because it would move from a feeling of being overwhelmed to one where they feel like they have to take their life.
Featured speaker, head of the IT unit and mobile and computer forensic expert Mel Jacobs urged members of the Vincentian community to come together and break down the barriers of cyberbullying through educating each other.
It's a topic that we heard little of. Why? Because a lot of young people are afraid to come out to say, I've been cyberbullied. Why is that so? Well, I think it's because of a lack of education in terms of cyberbullying and cybercrimes in a whole. So we have to come together as a community and try to break down. We won't eliminate it, because we cannot fully eliminate any crime. But we can bring it down to a level so we as a group, as a community, we can start by educating our neighbors, our children, our friends. Let them know cyberbullying, it's serious and it's toxic. It is everywhere. It is affecting the youths of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Persons found guilty of cyberbullying in St. Vincent and the Grenadines can be subjected to a fine or years of imprisonment under the newly instated 2016 Cybercrime Bill. His Royal Highness Prince Harry was greeted with the warm spirit of Vincentians on Saturday, November 26th, as he paid a one-day visit here as part of his 14-day tour of the Caribbean. During his visit here, the Prince got a glimpse of the rich Vincentian heritage and culture as he took part in a number of activities in capital city Kingstown, on the leeward and windward sides of the island as well. His focus was stressed on aspects of climate change, environment conservation, and youth development. His visit here also saw the last of 4 dedications of the Queen's Commonwealth canopy to the country. Nolisha Miller has the details in this report.
It's a moment of pride and gratitude as His Royal Highness Prince Harry emerged from the RFA Wave Night docked at the cruise ship berth early Saturday morning, November 26, 2016. It's just after 9 o'clock here in the morning in SVG, where Prince Harry has just arrived at the cruise terminal in capital Kingstown. Here he is being greeted by the Governor General, His Excellency Sir Frederick Ballantyne, as well as other government officials. The Prince's arrival was celebrated with a military parade, after which he formally inspected the guard. This is Prince Harry's second official visit to the Caribbean since his first tour in 2012 when His Royal Highness represented Her Majesty during the Diamond Jubilee. Just outside the cruise terminal, scores of students and members of uniformed organizations lined the streets to welcome the Prince.
I'm looking forward to see if he waves at me and he shakes my hand. I'm so excited! I'm looking forward to seeing the Prince and sharing this experience with my friends.
I was up close and personal. It was an exciting moment, an historic moment.
From Kingston, the royal convoy captured the attention of many Vincentians as another celebration awaited him at the Botanic Gardens. Just on the outskirts of capital Kingston at the Botanical Gardens, the Prince was serenaded by locals through cultural performances. The Botanic Gardens, which is the oldest tropical gardens in the Western world, celebrated its 250th anniversary last year. Here at the Botanic Gardens, His Royal Highness used the opportunity to plant a baobab tree. After leaving the gardens, His Royal Highness got the opportunity to experience more of SVG as the convoy traveled to the Vermont nature trails on the leeward side of the island. In SVG's picturesque southern interior is home to the Vermont Nature Trail. His Royal Highness took a short walk up that trail where hikers from around the world often traverse. Here the Prince also got the opportunity to meet with local guides and those who work on the trail's maintenance. It was also at the Nature Trail where His Royal Highness unveiled the final of 4 dedications to the Queen's Commonwealth canopy. The Prince also got the opportunity to engage with residents during his brief stop in the nearby community.
I'm so proud to see the Prince. I can never see him before, just say about him, so I'm so proud to see him this morning.
Okay. And if you meet him, what would you tell him?
Prince, I love him. I long to see him. I can never see him before.
Hi, good morning. Can you tell me, how excited are you to see the Prince today in your community?
I'm overwhelmed, so I'm just waiting to see.
How excited are you to see the Prince come into your community?
Well, I would say it's a very pleasant feeling that to have a Prince come to St. Vincent and enjoy watching and seeing him come to Vermont, because I know he's in Vermont Nature Trail, and it's my pleasure having the Prince in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And if you do get the opportunity to meet him, what would you tell him?
I'll tell him I love him.
Here in Vermont, we see that community residents have turned out in their numbers to give Prince Harry a warm Vincentian welcome. As a show of their love and appreciation, the Prince was gifted with a basket of fresh local fruits and provision. Later that afternoon, Prince Harry traveled on the windward side of the island, to Connery, where his keen interest in turtle conservation was heavily emphasized. But first, he made a short stop at the construction site of the Argyle International Airport, the largest capital project to be undertaken here in recent times. Residents of Connery were unable to contain their excitement with the arrival of Prince Harry, who later engaged in a prize-giving ceremony for winners of a turtle conservation competition. Following a recent announcement from Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzales declaring it illegal to catch or kill sea turtles or even disturb their nests in St. Vincent, Prince Harry stated that this country has proven to be more advanced than other Caribbean islands. At Connery Beach, located on the windward side of the island, His Royal Highness Prince Harry was offered the opportunity to commend St. Vincent and the Grenadines on its efforts taken in regards to turtle conservation and also for paving the way forward for other islands to follow.
He's a protector. He's the principal protector. Yes. Yes. The principal protector.
How long have you been working on this beach for? 6 years.
She painted this in 3 days.
Before departing the shores of SVG, Prince Harry attended the reception hosted by the Governor General and the Prime Minister.
But I wanted you to see what this location looked like before this cruise ship here came.
From St. Vincent, he will be visiting Grenada and then Barbados, where the Prince will engage in the commemoration of the country's 50th independence anniversary. And finally, his 14-day tour will culminate in Guyana. Nolisha Miller, The Evening News.
And at a media conference earlier today, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzales also took the opportunity to comment on the visit of Prince Harry of Wales to SVG on Saturday, November 26th, which he highlighted was carried out in a dignified manner.
I want to thank all those who in the state administration who worked well for the visit of Prince Harry. There are very favorable reports which have come out of the visit. You notice that the visit was focused really on nature and the environment and people, especially young people, and thus the planting of trees at the Botanic Gardens, the visit to the nature trail in Vermont, and going to Connery in respect of the habitat for turtles. And of course, when they were going, they had to see the existential project of the Argyle International Airport. I tell you, and the Prince was very impressed with it. You'd also note that we didn't seek to make the Prince's visit something political.
A number of local tourism stakeholders were awarded for their contribution to the sector as the Ministry of Tourism and the SVG Tourism Authority hosted the 2016 Tourism and Awards Ceremony. SVG Television's Marvin Oliver has more on those who received awards in this report.
24 awards across 3 categories were won on Saturday night as the SVG Tourism Authority and the Ministry of Tourism, Sports and Culture held the 2016 Cocktails Award ceremony at the French Veranda. The awards recognized the outstanding contributions of various stakeholders in the tourism sector in 3 categories. In the Hotel Tourism Association Awards, Front Office Person of the Year, sponsored by the East Caribbean Group of Companies, was taken by Miss Shanna Halbish. Supervisor of the Year, sponsored by Surgical Life Incorporated, was taken by Miss Michelle Peters. Waitress of the Year, sponsored by East Caribbean Group of Companies, was taken by Miss Roxanne Jacobs. Chef of the Year, sponsored by St. Vincent Distillers, was taken by Mr. Curtis Chase. Housekeeper of the Year, sponsored by the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, was taken by Miss Evandi Dick. Island Ambassadors of the Year, sponsored by the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, was taken by Mr. Ken Isaacs. Gardener of the Year, sponsored by Careers Hazels Inc., was taken by Mr. Cassius Franklin. Yacht and Boating Operator of the Year, sponsored by Quick Cash Corporation, was taken by Mr. Johan Little. Beachcombers Hotel was recognized for 25 years of continuous service in the hospitality industry sponsored by CIBC First Caribbean International Bank. Dive Operator of the Year, sponsored by Log Enterprises, was taken by Serenity Dive. In the SVG Tourism Authority Awards, Most Outstanding Tour Guide went to Mr. Elvin Jackson. Most Training-Sensitive Restaurant in Beckway was taken by Max Pizzeria. And on the mainland St. Vincent, Vijay's Restaurant. Most Outstanding Taxi Operator on the mainland went to Mr. Zim Kodogan, while in the Grenadines, it went to Mr. Carlton Oliver. Most Compliant Short-Term Vehicle Rental went to Greg's Auto Care and Rental Service. Most Compliant Tour Operator went to Bamboo Adventures. Most Compliant Accommodations on the mainland went to Sea Splash Apartments, while on the Grenadines, it went to Rainbow Castle Guest House. Employee of the Year Awards for 2015 went to Miss Lindra Oliver, while for 2016, Miss Karen Lewis. Ministry of Tourism, Sports and Culture Awards. Most Improved Community Group went to Black Point. Most Outstanding Tourism Site went to Raraku. Media Promotions Award went to Searchlight. Immigration Officer of the Year was taken by Miss Nyasha De Freitas. Stakeholder of the Year went to Mr. Monroe Peters of Daddy's Tours. And Employee of the Year went to Mr. Orlando Jackson. For SVG Television Evening News, I am Barvin Oliver.